Welcome to Scuba Bob's Ocean Quest. Our goal is to educate youth and adults on the importance of our oceans and waterways. Scuba Bob has been diving since 1978 with thousands of dives around the world. The oceans cover 72% of the Earth's surface. 75% of the Earth's oxygen is produced by the oceans of our world. Ocean Quest has been creatively produced to educate youth and adults on marine life and the conservation of both land and water. He and his team will share their passion for the mysteries of this liquid world of our blue planet. On December 14th, 2006, the white dolphin was declared extinct. Who will be next? Scuba Bob completed his doctoral dissertation on dolphin communications with disabled divers with a positive outcome between the divers and the dolphin.
Today we'll be diving on Punta Tunich in Cozumel. As we begin the dive, we're greeted by a cool fish called the Niger triggerfish. I'm very impressed with this triggerfish. It's black with cool white accent marks along its dorsal fins, a light glowing blue face with gold accents around its mouth. These fish primarily feed on hard-bodied invertebrates. Some of their favorite foods include sea urchins, crabs, shrimps, sand dollars, sea cucumbers, starfish, and much more. Some species will also feed on algae, but most are carnivores in nature. Rather than catching swift prey by outswimming it, these fish target slow-moving creatures. They can eat this armored prey by using their powerful jaws to crush shells and ectoskeletons. Because these fish live amongst coral reefs, they interact with humans relatively frequently. Captured for the pet trade puts pressures on their populations. As with all species that are reliant upon coral reefs, pollution and climate change poses a serious threat to it as well. Population increases of acidity levels in the water, sensitive coral species die off and produce reefs that no longer function. The same impact happens with temperature change. It's easy to find Carl. He has perfect buoyancy with methodical movements throughout the water. You can tell he is a cave diver. Okay, let's take a look at this fish. Can anyone identify what fish this is that's hiding from us? That's right, this is the elusive splendid toadfish. It looks like a purple-tipped anemone. I like to look at anemones because if you look closer, you'll find small animals like pipefish, worms, fish, crabs, and harlequin shrimp amongst their tentacles. But it doesn't look like we have any this day. I love the gray angelfish. If you look at the pectoral fins, you'll see that on one side it blends into the color of the gray scales and the other side is a bright yellow. If you also look, you'll see a glowing blue stripe on the back of its anal fin. Hey, there's Mike. I noticed that his diving skills have improved a whole lot since we ended the trip. Way to go, Mike. He was able to drop some of his weights, and his air consumption has become great. We can't forget my dive buddy Ed. Hey, it looks like you found another sea biscuit. These small razorfish love to dig in the sand for food and also shelter. Hey, this looks like a doctor's convention. All we're missing is a few nurse sharks. Surgeonfish have a razor-sharp appendage near the anal tail. Natives have been able to use it for a tool in surgery. It looks like we found a friendly four-eyed butterfly. I love these little fish. Hey look, there's a nice yellow-tipped sea anemone with hard coral and soft corals all around it. It's hard to see, but in the lower left was a harlequin shrimp. Okay, there's one of my favorite crabs. It looks like we've got an arrow crab. Ledges make great hiding places for fish like this blue-striped grunt. This is a French angelfish that's about to finish its adolescent phase and become an adult. When the two stripes become black and gold, it will be considered an adult. Anyone see the lobster? He's sticking his head out of the ledge to make sure that he is safe. There goes a four-eyed butterfly fish. I wonder if they're looking for their mate. The worm on the side of the piece of coral is called a fireworm. It's a pretty looking animal with very furry looking coat. Even though it's a nice looking animal, don't touch it. His furry looking coat is made up of hundreds of venomous spines. If you were to touch it, you'd get an unpleasant awakening by the wasp-like sting you'd receive. It's a beautiful little worm, but it provides a very unpleasant sting. So if you decide to touch this worm, don't come to me complaining that it stung you. I warned you. Remember, it's a very unpleasant wasp-like sting. This dusky damsel is having nothing to do with this doctor fish. With some of the most beautiful and most popular reefs in the world, it's vital that Cozumel take positive steps to conserve this precious natural underwater resource. With this in mind, the local marine park authorities announced a new strategy this week, which will see different areas of the protected park taking a break from tourist activities on a periodic basis. Parts of the south of the marine reserve will be closed for tourists for snorkeling, diving, and swimming. Tours that previously went to the southern areas can temporarily divert to park's many other beautiful underwater areas. One of the largest local tour operators said that they would fully subscribe to the enormous conservation effort and that they would participate decisively and proactively. There are 14 main snorkeling and diving areas within the park, of which only 3 will be affected: Columbia, El Cielo, and Palancar. Palancar Beach is outside the area and will remain open, but there will be restrictions on entering the water from the beaches inside Punta Tunich Park. Cozumel underwater tours that previously went to these sites can now go to another 11 sites instead, which include Sidral, Cardona, San Clemente, and Paraiso. There's also still many amazing reefs to visit outside the marine park, which are completely unaffected. They include those in the north, which can be seen on Cozumel Sailing Tour or Punta Molasses Boat Tour. $1.8 million people enjoy Cozumel's marine park every year, and the area is protected by the Mexican federal law. If you're one of the many to visit, please remember to follow the Cozumel Park rules, and you can play a big part in conserving this amazing piece of nature. Since a lot of people don't know about reef conservation, I thought I'd share some information that I have about the value of coral reefs. Reefs provide a habitat for many living beings. Coral reefs become one of the many types of ocean habitats that is important to support the ocean life. In the coral reef, you may see that there are a lot of living beings that live in the coral reef. You will see many creatures such as plants and even animals that live in there. Reefs provide nitrogen support. In the coral reef ecosystem, there is this nitrogen fixation that will help support the life not only of the coral reef, but also other ocean life. Another important thing comes up from the coral reef is that it has become one of the marine food supports to fulfill the marine living beings needed. Even the coral reef is in need of phytoplankton to live, since phytoplankton will provide food for the coral reefs to live, and other plants that live in and around the coral reef that provide other living beings with food it needs. Reefs are very valuable in protecting the coastlines. You do know that the structure of coral reefs is quite hard. With massive structure, we get valuable benefits from this preventing coastline destruction. The real benefit and importance of the coral reef to the environment is it helps to protect the coastline from hurricanes and storms that may destroy the coastline. Thanks to the reef, Cozumel has survived many hurricanes over the centuries. If you ever travel to the windward or east side of the island, you'll discover that the type of coral is different from the beautiful reefs we usually dive on. Brain, staghorn, and leaf coral is replaced by iron coral, which is like raw iron to survive the full brunt of hurricanes. Reefs are a good indicator of the health of an ocean environment. Before the coral reef can be healthy, it needs to become a stable environment to support life. So, when you see the reef has less life in its previous years and it's beginning to have coral bleaching, it means that the environment is not healthy. Coral reefs help maintain a healthy condition beneath the ocean. Coral reefs help to maintain this healthy condition underneath the ocean. You can imagine an ocean that's not in good condition without a coral reef. It would be empty and lifeless. Reefs provide a hiding place for some marine animals. There are some animals that live inside the coral reef only to use it as a hiding place during the day and come out at night only to catch its prey. These species of animals are usually predators such as sharks, eels, and large predator animals like the grouper. The reef provides nutrient recycling. Reefs help the nutrient cycle of the ocean. It acts like a decomposer for the ocean. The organisms of the reef decompose organic materials and help manage the nutrients and keep it into the soil. The reef protects juveniles. Have you ever seen Finding Nemo? In the movie, you'll see that Nemo's parents were trying to protect their juveniles inside the anemone so that it would be protected from the sharks that feed on juveniles. The reef system has a role in fixing the carbon and nitrogen of the world. Nitrogen plays an important role in the marine environment and on the land for plants. In the coral reef exist many microbes that have a role to do this carbon fixing and nitrogen recycling in the ocean. Another value of the reef system is helping us discover the climate events from the past. Thanks to our advanced technology and education system, now we can actually discover some events that were happening in the past through the coral reef structure. The events might be natural disasters or disease that left a mark on the coral reef. Coral reefs have been known to provide a natural resource for drugs. Coral reefs have been shown to support human life because some plants that are living around the coral reef have great benefits to support health problems. For example, seaweed has been used on such things in the health products and in cosmetics. This has become one of the importance of the conservation of coral reefs is pharmaceuticals. Reefs help purify the water. A natural way to solve water pollution is by having a healthy coral reef. Through sponges, the water is filtered and the sponge helps filter out some of the pollutants. Our reefs are important to ocean life, so what is a scuba diver's impact on the coral reef? Coral reef diving is an all-time favorite for most scuba divers, but like it or not, scuba divers are causing substantial damage in the world's coral reefs. Scientific evidence shows that divers are directly and or indirectly responsible for damaging the reef life with some of their thoughtless behaviors. That's not to say that all divers are harming the reef lives intentionally, but due to some divers' lack of proper training, it is done unknowingly at times. Coral reef diving possesses some unique challenges compared to other methods of diving. A diver needs to have a passion or affection for nature when diving on a coral reef. Coral reefs are not only beautiful colored rocks in the sea, they're living organisms that need extreme care and attention. We need to look at what kind of impact we do have on our coral reefs. Divers may not realize that their diving sessions in the coral reef can have such a devastating impact on the coral reef. Dive-related damage to the coral reef is very gradual and small, so the impact of the coral and the whole marine ecosystem is relatively low. Several years of studies reveal that only a small visible level of damage, but the breaking down of the coral reefs continues. There can be several long-term effects of the marine environment. Tiny amounts of depletion would then create drastic structural changes. This can only end up in coastal erosion, which would permanently have a loss of the marine ecosystem and biodiversity. Practice the use of buoyancy control in fin use. In the excitement while diving, the frenzy of kicking from divers' fins can hurt coral. So to avoid this, divers need to gain better control of their fins and legs when swimming. Having proper buoyancy control helps to provide better diving at reefs as well as diving in general. Being a pro at buoyancy control, divers have a better understanding of their behavior. This helps to regulate underwater movement. These French angels are beautiful, and it's my hope that you'll take time to take a marine identification course to learn the names and habits of marine life around the world. I feel that you would enjoy your dives more once you learn to take your time on the dive and pay attention to the small stuff. If you get in a hurry, you're going to miss 90% of the ocean's beauty. Remember, most animals use camouflage as their defense mechanism. Reef.org out of Key Largo, Florida is a great organization to join. You will have a marine identification course, a fish ID slate, and a form to send to Reef so that they can be added to their data banks to help universities around the world help monitor the health of our oceans. Everyone's paying attention to their gauges. Our divers seem to be getting ready for the end of our dive. This was a nice dive, and I think we learned a few things on this dive. Hey look, there's a coronet fish. Those are so cool. It's cousin to the trumpet fish. Don't touch the coral. People love to touch things. Divers need to keep in mind that there's limits on how much interaction they should have with marine creatures. If divers touch the coral, it's difficult for the coral to recover and leads to permanent damage. It takes 1 year for a coral reef to grow 1 inch. The oils on your fingers will kill the coral. Here are some things that you should do to protect the coral reefs. Study about the marine life that you might see while diving. Educate yourself about the maximum limit of interactions with corals. Make sure that you and your buddy are aware of the impact of the coral reefs. Firmly obey guidelines for safe diving and take respectful attitude to coral-friendly diving. Here are some things that you should not do on a coral reef. Don't touch any coral. Don't let your body come in contact with corals. Don't let your diving equipment hang loose. Secure all equipment so nothing bumps into the corals. Don't pollute the water with anything. Don't break off or take any pieces of corals or seashells. So, what do the statistics say? A devastating fact is that coral life is currently in danger. Studies show that 1/4 of the total worldwide coral population has already vanished. 88% of the remaining corals are in extreme danger. South Asian coral reefs may become extinct if not cared for properly. Global warming and dynamite fishing are a concern for coral life today. Divers need to try their best to stop it. Let all of us divers around the world take an oath. Let's make sure all coral reefs remain a healthy habitat for every marine organism. Try to do your best to enjoy scuba diving without disturbing marine life in a harmful manner. What are you going to do to help the coral reefs? I hope you enjoyed this week's expedition of Scuba Bob's Ocean Quest and look forward to next week's new adventure. Upcoming videos will be on diving with sharks in Belize aboard the Aggressor, diving on the windward or east side of Cozumel, and diving with eagle rays. We want to give a special thanks to the Woodlands Dive Center, its dive leaders, and divers on this trip. This is Dr. Robert Knappich, aka Scuba Bob, and I'm looking forward to having you with us in your living rooms as we explore the oceans and waterways of our world. This is Scuba Bob saying keep it safe, keep it smart, and keep her clean until we dive again. The white dolphin went into extinction in 2006 due to man's ignorance and greed.
It is our hope that you see the importance of ocean conservation